published 1904 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 5th of May 2018, updated 4:49 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 6th of May 2018. Patricia and her mate. They wore heels and everything, says Billy Vunipola, struggling to remember the name of the second drag queen who turned up at one of his house parties last summer. I don't fly that way, but it's cool. Half of St. Albans turned up. Anyway, those days are over now. I'd started to think that I was the man and I didn't look after myself. I was staying out late, partying, not spending the full time on crutches, not sleeping. I thought I was invincible, but I've learned that I'm not. Billy Vunipola thought he was invincible during his injury layoff, but learned he was not. The number 8 returned to action for Saracens at London Irish last month after a lengthy absence. He has taken a drawn-out list of injuries to teach Vunipola his harsh lesson. Shoulder, knee and arm problems have limited the number 8 to just 249 minutes of rugby over the past year, with a recurring hamstring strain halting his latest comeback. His return is penciled in for Saracens' playoff semi-final against Wasps, with the powerhouse forward hoping to shed half a stone and make a late claim for England's summer tour. I was doing well until about 4 weeks ago, he says. I tweaked my hammy and mentally I was a bit broken by it. Instead of turning to partying, I turned to eating cake. My missus loves baking, so it was lemon sponge cake, chocolate slice, the full range. I still need to find my best coping strategy. My best weight is around 130 kilograms. I'm probably around 135 kilograms at the moment. I'd love to go on tour with England in June, but I just need to lose weight. I know I'm fat. I've spoken to Eddie Jones. He'll probably message me about keeping off the cakes after he reads this. Vunipola has not played for England since the final game of last year's Six Nations, although he hopes to be named in Jones's squad on Thursday. His absence was a key factor behind England's Six Nations implosion, and, following that, it is clear that he is indispensable to the World Cup hopes. It was tough to watch, more because of what people were saying about us, says Vunipola, who was speaking during a day of off-road driving with Land Rover. People were saying stuff that wasn't nice to take and it hurts your ego. My mum gave me a book about how to control the tongue, because it's full of evil. I shout at the screen, kick chairs, throw stuff. My fiancé gets a bit scared. People will say, oh, you need to win all the time, but unless you're Floyd Mayweather and take 2 years off in between games, then it's hard to win all the time. It's hard to always pretend the next game is always the biggest game. That's the truth. Maybe it's not a bad thing to go through a run like that, because it motivates you in future. On the darkest days of his injury rehabilitation, Vunipola turned to the Methodist Church in St. Albans for motivation. The 25-year-old has been one of the leading voices against player burnout, threatening strike action after claims that players could not handle the demands of club and country. I don't think I could deal with any more long-term injuries mentally, he says. People say, oh yeah, you get 5 weeks off, but I don't think that's enough. Some boys will spend half of that recovering from surgery. I'm 25 now, I want to play till I'm 34 maybe. I'm contracted to Saracens for another year or so and I want to stay here after the World Cup. Maybe I'll stay at Sarries my whole career, but you want to experience life as well. My fiancé wants to go back to Australia at some point. I'm not sure how much longer my mum and dad will hang around here. It's too cold for them. I'm not bothered about the money, it's about the life experiences. Not straight after the World Cup, but maybe later on, God willing. Vunipola partied a lot during his time on the sidelines and turned to cake following a setback. Vunipola said, my best weight is around 130 kilograms. I'm probably around 135 kilograms at the moment. Vunipola could be a candidate for the 2023 World Cup if his body holds out to the demands of modern rugby. It's disappointing to be out of Europe, but hopefully we can fly into the semis, he says, because we've always been in knockout stages. We've accumulated an extra 22 games in 5 seasons, and that's probably added to our injury problems. If it wasn't for my faith, then I wouldn't be where I am now. For me, it's my best form of armor. It gives me something to fall back on. I haven't been as diligent with it as I should have been in the past, but religion has helped me with these injuries. I think I'd have lost patience if it wasn't for my faith. I started going back to church consistently, with my fiancé and cousins. Vunipola will be back at church this morning. Then he will turn his focus towards his next comeback, with 13 days to prepare, and English rugby will once again hold its breath. These injuries have taught me a lesson, he says. I took things for granted before. My head always gets too big. I try to pretend that it doesn't, but it is, and it's something I'll always battle against, that and my weight. God has a bigger plan for me, and he's just preparing me the best way he can. Hopefully I'm ready for it now. Billy Vunipola is a Land Rover ambassador. Land Rover is celebrating its testimonial season. 10 years of supporting grassroots rugby in the UK follow at Land Rover Rugby. England international Vunipola, seen driving a Discovery 4x4, is a Land Rover ambassador. Vunipola, who has not played for England since March 2017, spoke exclusively to Sportsmail. Land Rover has spent the last 10 seasons supporting grassroots rugby in the United Kingdom.